911, what's your emergency? 911, what's your emergency?
Be advised, Car 4 has control of the pursuit. Proceed with caution.
Hello, everybody. How are you guys? It's good to be with you. I have a lot to go over tonight, so we're going to try and get to all of it. I'm really glad to see everyone. There's so much going on, and I know I haven't been here since Monday morning when I went live last, but I've been reading and following and doing some research on my own of some topics and things, so I've tried to stay up on stuff. But it is good to see everyone. Hello, David C. Yeah, David, we're going to talk about all of that. Hey, Judy, how are you? Hey, Melissa. Hi, True Crime Housewife. Hey, Todd Cantwell. Hey, CJK. How are you? Hey, Danger Dave. How are you, my dear? I hope you're doing well. Hello, John. Thank you for being here. Hi, C-Wise. Hey, Michelle. Good to see you, my dear. Thank you so much. Hi, Hybrid Pisces. Peace. Is it Pisces? Yeah, Pisces. How are you? Hello, Rose. Hi, Mrs. Thang. Hey, Lipsha. Hey, Woodland Star. Hi, Serendipity. Hey, Maria. How are you, my dear? So good to see you. Hey, Jennifer. Thank you so much for being here. I appreciate each and every one of you. It's been a wild week. a really wild week. As I'm waiting. Hey, Babs Forever, how are you? Thank you so much. I do not have a cold. Hey, Tech Death, how are you, my dear? So good to see you all. Yeah, everybody better buckle up, that's for sure. I've got a lot to say. I'm probably going to stir up some stuff. People are probably not going to like it too much. Hey, Teresa, good to see you. Welcome, welcome. Hi, Rob Lee. How are you? Glad to have you guys with me tonight. You know me. I just put it out there as I see it, and I'm all about facts. Hey, the Rockaways. Good to have you with us. All I can say is, you guys, I am so happy for everyone who joined my channel over the last few days. Wow. Thank you so much. Hi, Country Girl. Hi, Lynn. So good to see you. Hi, Lipsha. I appreciate you all so much. All the support, the nice, kind comments. Yes, CJK, they are kinda. So I'm going to try to rein it in and not be mean. But yeah, my boxing gloves are on. Such a sad case that we're going to talk about first before I get into Delphi. I just can't say enough about little Quentin, Simon. You guys, everything that's been going on the last couple of days has just absolutely broke my heart. I'm going to share my screen with you so we can look at Quentin again. But I posted some community post updates today for you guys. One of the things that I updated was yesterday morning, early, about 5:30 in the morning. Quentin's grandfather, his biological father's father, was hit and killed by a hit and run driver along the road in Georgia. He wasn't that far from where Quentin lives. And he had also lost his wife just a couple of weeks ago. So Quentin's daddy, his biological father, has lost his son, he's lost his mother, and his father all within 4 weeks. That poor soul and man, I don't know how he is even waking up and functioning. Yesterday was a really hard day for me. When I read about it, it just broke my heart. I lost both of my parents in 2017. In my mother, I lost over Labor Day, and I lost my father on October the 22nd. And so within a month, I had lost both of my parents. And it crushed me. I didn't realize how bad it hurts to lose your parents. I always thought that you'd be prepared because, your parents are supposed to go for it before you. But this gentleman was in his 50s. his early 50s. He was young. And it is a just gut-wrenching to think about that it was a hit and run. They still don't know who's done this. And everything that his dad's name is Bubba Morris Jr. His dad, who he just lost, is Bubba Morris Sr. And I just feel bad for him. What a just tragic thing. Now, the FBI did come out, law enforcement came out and said that they are searching through thousands of tons of garbage looking for baby Quentin's remains. They have evidence that points them to, hold on one second, that points to Quentin's being put in a landfill. These are the bank of dumpsters that they have video of Leilani, Quentin's mother, putting him in one of these dumpsters. Now, these dumpsters are about 2.8 miles from the family home in a mobile home park. And they are going to continue to search the landfill. It is grueling work. And they are doing everything in their power to find this little boy. And here is the picture of the mobile home park. It's Azalea Mobile Home Park Plaza in Savannah, Georgia. And this is the entrance to it. And here is the map that shows Buckholder Road, which is where the family lives, right here. And the mobile home park is right here. So you can see that this would be the drive that was made out here and then back in here to the dumpsters. So they're still working to find him. And they haven't. There's been over 50 calls to the home since Quentin went missing. They've got a lot of protesters causing issues. We've talked about that. And it's been quite the ordeal. But I still pray every day that they end up finding him. It's just so heartbreaking. You look at his little face and it just, I mean, he was just a beautiful little boy, and that smile and everything about him is just so, yeah, just a great thing that they're going to continue to look for him. What's the one arrest of the YouTuber? Lynn? Yeah, Hybrid. Thank you so much for saying that. And I will talk about that as well. Who is Dolly? Who's Dolly? She was one of the YouTubers that was arrested down by Quentin's house. I just think it's sad. Just crazy. Hey, Psych 101. Good to have you here. It's just nuts. So let's get into this. Hold on a second. The very first thing that I want to talk about, we all know that Richard Allen was charged with 2 counts of murder on Monday at the press conference. We learned that, what the charges were. I posted on my community page what the statute for murder in Indiana is. I posted that for everyone to have an idea of what it means. The state of Indiana does not have degrees of murder, like first and second degree. All they have is murder. If you drove a getaway car and a murder was committed, you are going to be charged with murder. If you participate in a crime of any kind where a murder is committed, you are going to be charged with murder. So it's not first degree, second degree, or anything like that. Indiana has some really interesting laws, is what I'm going to say right off the bat. And a lot of people don't understand this because they don't live in Indiana. And even the people in Indiana don't understand what their laws are and how it works. So I thought it would be really good to go over some of that tonight. Hey, HCC, how are you, my dear? Sorry I didn't make it to your premiere. I was working on a couple of last minute things for the live. I'm really sorry. I'll watch it. I'll watch your premiere when I'm done. Oh, sorry, guys, but my eye is itching for some weird reason. It's crazy. Anyway, so we've got the charges, so we know what they are. We also know that he was charged with murder, but that there is some sort of additional factors involved in that, whether it was in the commission of a kidnapping, whether it was in the commission of sexual assault. There is some other thing, and if you look at the statute that I posted, it's absolutely clear. It tells you exactly what has to happen and what they're talking about, as far as they're very specific about the kidnapping, about the sexual assault, of what those numbers, and there's a number 2 behind his charge, and that's what that means. And I really feel that it's more than likely going to be kidnapping, because as soon as he said, guys down the hill, that was considered an abduction. So I believe that that's part of it. We have never been told how the girls died. We've never been told if they were sexually assaulted or not. All of those things could happen. So we'll just have to wait and see. So let's see here. I just want to go back for just a minute. Let's see. I thought I missed something. You guys, if you do have questions, put them in the chat and I will star them. I have a way to do that. And then I will address them at the end of the live, because I've just got so much to go over tonight. I really want to do it that way. I did, Lisa. I had a really nice birthday. I spent it with my best friend. We've been friends for 52 years, almost 53. And I always spend my birthday with her and my grandchildren and my family. So we had a really good time. I got some really nice gifts. And I had a really nice time. It was lovely. I really enjoyed my birthday this year. So, I really want to get into this, what hybrid Pisces is talking about, but I really want to get into the case too. Let's just go ahead and touch on this for now because we might as well. I said all along, you guys, if you remember, even probably, I don't know, 3 or 4 months ago when we were talking about the case finally being solved, that all hell was going to break loose. And crazy, we thought crazy was around this case before Bridge Guy was arrested, that it would be far more than what we had anticipated. So thank you, Lisa. You're so kind. So anyway, I just want you guys to know that I'm not happy with what I'm seeing around the case. I'm not happy at all. It's one reason why I chose not to go live on Tuesday night. I just needed a down moment because I was upset. And hey, Freckle Joy. And I didn't want to be upset and be on the live stream. I can't say it better than that, Hybrid. I honestly can't. I am so appalled at how people think that they are entitled to know things. The entitlement around this case is disgusting. And it's been disgusting from day one, but it's far worse now because for 5.5 years, people have thrown law enforcement under the bus. They have said they didn't know what they were doing, that they were complete buffoons. People made videos of them like they were the Keystone Cops. They, because they were not speaking directly to the public and telling the public what they were doing, the public got ticked off at law enforcement and basically just called them inept buffoons and that they had no idea what they were doing. And I just think that people need to slow down and stop being so entitled. There are certain things that the law requires. There are certain things that the law allows for the public to know. All of that is going to come. It is going to come. But this is about Abby and Libby. It is not about you. It's not about me. It's not about any other content creator or podcaster or reporter or anyone else that is covering this case. It's just not. And we will get our day when we are in the know. We will. And I told everybody on Monday morning when I went live after the press conference, Nick McClellan told us on Monday morning, to be patient. He didn't expect the probable cause document to be sealed any longer than 30 days, if even that. We have a hearing on the 22nd. So 3 weeks. It's before Thanksgiving. It'll be decided. And I believe at that time it will be unsealed. I think there's going to be enough heat put on the court to unseal it by all of the national news cycle, as well as local news stations and newspapers. There's just been they've been inundated. They told you this yesterday that the judge in this case came out and said he needed help because he has a very small staff. You have to remember how small we're talking about this community and this county. It's small, and they don't have this huge judicial system in their court system and all of these employees. And when it becomes inundated with all of these requests, then that is a different story, and he needs help. Somebody actually doxed the judge in this case. They put out his name, his address, his home address, his family members' names, and it is why he recused himself. That is not okay. That is not okay. Judges in this country have a hard enough job than to constantly be worrying about their safety or their family's safety. That is ridiculous that somebody did that. I just can't believe it. Now, the Rockaways asked me how I would feel if I found out it was sealed because it makes law enforcement look bad. I have no reason to believe that that's why this is sealed. I think I know why it's been sealed, and I'm going to talk about that. And he did seal it for extra scrutiny, but it doesn't have anything to do with law enforcement. It has to do with everyone that is covering this case running with crap and spreading all kinds of misinformation and ruining and tainting a jury. They have to be able to try this case, you guys, and they have to find impartial jurors. And it is going to be really, really hard to find impartial jurors in this case. There is all kinds of reasons that they could do this. Thanks, Lisa. Hey, Unsolved, how are you? It's so good to see you. Thank you so much for my birthday present. I absolutely love it, Allie. It is so beautiful. Thank you. So we're going to, like I said, we're going to talk about that. But the community around Delphi and the deaths of Abby and Libby, it has been an experience, you guys. I mean, an experience. I have seen the worst of humanity, and I've seen the best of humanity. And it's just horrible. I'm just sick of it. I'm so sick of everybody's feeling entitled. And somebody said it best. Are they so thirsty for this information? I actually had somebody post on either one of my lives or my community posts asking me when they were going to release and unseal the girls' autopsies. Are you kidding me? We don't need to know that information. It's going to come out. It'll come out in court. But I'm sorry. I mean, this we have to continue to stand by and hold up these families, you guys. That's so imperative here. We are not the press. We are not. And we can't pretend to be. So Yeah, Psych 101, that's what I hear. So hopefully that will make a big, huge difference. Thank you so much for your contribution and your donation. I certainly appreciate it. So we now have a judge who has recused himself from the case already because his family, himself have been put in danger. And you guys want to know why they won't release information. Because they are absolutely crazy people out there that don't give a hoot about Abby and Libby and about Abby or Libby or this case. I mean, I'm serious. It's the family's right. This is their children. This is their children. Hey, bloke, how are you? Good to see you. I hope they find out who did it because it's a federal offense. It's a federal offense to threaten a judge. And I hope they throw the book at them. This isn't games. And I'm so tired of people playing games with this case. Yes, she did, bloke. I saw it. She tweeted it. Kelsey posted a petition. She wants it kept sealed for now. Yep, because she wants the integrity of this case maintained. This is her sister. She doesn't want anything to implode and explode around it to where this guy can win on an appeal. So I had some long conversations on Monday night with my judge friend. And I also, my best friend's brother is an attorney as well. And I had some conversations with him. So I was able to get some questions out that I had. And there's a lot of questions about what's happening right now. And Hybrid, I so agree with you. True crime YouTube has replaced reality TV in so many ways. The only difference now is that they are using the death of victims, the deaths, true life deaths of people and families who are unwilling participants as their entertainment. I'm all for true crime and being educated about it and learning about these monsters who commit these kinds of crimes and reporting on the cases and bringing awareness. I'm all for that. But for people to live vicariously through these cases and think that they're somehow more knowledgeable than law enforcement and more knowledgeable than the criminal justice system who have gone to school and have degrees in this, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. That to me is the most arrogant, crazy that you can possibly be. I had some conversations with my family about that very thing, about how many people follow true crime and have no idea what the laws are. They have no idea how a trial works. They don't have no idea of any of it. And it's just like, and C-Wise, thank you for saying that. We'll know when we're supposed to know. We've waited this long. There's no reason for us not to wait. They're not hiding anything. They are trying to protect this case. It's just crazy. One of the things that happened on November the 3rd, today, I apologize. On November the 2nd, this was entered into Carroll County Circuit Court today. The state of Indiana and Carroll County versus Richard M. Allen. There was a court order on November 2nd. Tobe Lesenby, the sheriff of Carroll County, filed a request to transfer the inmate from Carroll County Jail to the custody of the Indiana Department of Corrections for safekeeping. The court, being duly advised, finds that the defendant is an inmate awaiting trial and is in imminent danger of serious bodily injury or death, or represents a substantial threat to the safety of others. This finding is not predicted on any acts or alleged acts of the defendant since arrest, but rather a toxic and harmful insistence on public information about the defendant and this case. If you can't figure out just from that alone why everything has been sealed, then you guys will never understand, because that exactly explains it. It has nothing to do with any acts of anybody against the defendant or anyone else. It's because of a toxic and harmful insistence on public information about the defendant and this case. We don't have vigilante justice in this country, you guys. We don't. In general, this court has 30 days to rule on any motion that is filed by a party in any case. Yet, concurrent to the actual case naturally occurring, this judicial officer keeps getting direct requests from non-parties for public information, claiming that this officer has 7 days or 1 day when hand-delivered to respond to the request or face legal litigation. While this officer is responsible for the entirety of the circuit court docket, it attempts to ignore the maelstrom of interest from the public. It is known that YouTube already hosts content regarding family members of this judicial officer, including photos. The public's bloodlust for information before it exists is extremely dangerous. All public servants administering this action do not feel safe and are not protected. The Carroll County Sheriff has limited resources to conduct its base operations, let alone any duties mandated by our Supreme Court. All defendants in all actions are presumed innocent. All public information will be available the second it exists. None of the family members of public servants are part of this action. All of the public servants are simply people doing their jobs. Most of the public servants are woefully underpaid. Most of the public interest consists of people attempting to raise their status or profit financially. When the public peddles misinformation with reckless abandon, we all are not safe. Oops. And this is the court order that I'm reading from, you guys. The undersigned states, I am the duly elected sheriff of Carroll County, Indiana. The aforementioned defendant, Richard Matthew Allen, has been incarcerated since October the 26th of 2022, initially at the Carroll County Jail and then transferred to the White County Jail at my request as sheriff of Carroll County, Indiana. The defendant has been charged in a high-profile cause creating potential safety and security concerns because of extensive coverage from an array of various media platforms, both mainstream and social, throughout this state, the United States, and the world. In that the defendant has been charged in said high-profile cause, it is felt by the undersigned potential safety and security concerns exist involving not only the defendant, but also both jail facilities in Carroll and White counties within the state of Indiana. Because of the aforementioned reasons, as Sheriff of Carroll County, I cannot provide the services, attention, or supervision necessary to protect or meet the defendant's needs, or to ensure, protect, and guarantee the safety or security of the defendant, the staff, and the facilities. Pursuant to Indiana Code 35-33-11-1, I respectfully request from the court an order approving and directing the transfer of this defendant to the custody of the Indiana Department of Corrections. Said agency has agreed to accept custody of the defendant for safekeeping. As provided by the Indiana Code, I will be responsible for transporting or for coordinating transportation arrangements with the Indiana Department of Corrections and the defendant to and from the respective facility for further court proceedings. As far as the public's desire to learn about access to court records, that educational effort cannot be by this officer, educating each individual ad hoc whenever they choose to seek public information. These inquiries are inherently disruptive to the operation of the court, as they are wholly outside the operations of the court. As a branch of the Supreme Court, any requests for public information about this action should be directed to whomever is the public information coordinator for the courts in general. If there is not a position, our state may need one. Defendant indicated at the initial hearing an intention to hire private counsel. Defendant is reminded that he must retain counsel within 20 days of the initial hearing because there are deadlines for filing motions and raising defenses, and if those deadlines are missed, the legal issues and defenses that could have been raised will be waived or given up. If defendant is unable to retain counsel of his choosing due to financial indigency, the defendant is reminded that he is entitled to court-appointed counsel, and the defendant will be examined upon request. The court notes for the public that when defendant appeared for the initial hearing, he was clad in protective gear. That protection was not to protect the defendant from the court. That protection was to protect the defendant from the public. Until a finding of guilt or judgment of conviction occurs, in any case, judgment must be reserved and the presumption of innocence must be respected and preserved. Accordingly, pursuant to Indiana Code 35-33-11-1, the court orders the Sheriff of Carroll County to transfer this defendant to a facility of the Department of Corrections designated by the Commissioner of the Department as a suitable for the confinement of the defendant and provided that space is available. And this is so ordered this 3rd day of November, 2022. I will, these court documents are, I believe these ones here are available on my case, but I'm not positive about that. I got these off of Twitter. And I couldn't agree with them more. I absolutely could not agree with the court more. Because of the way that people behave and can't control themselves and remain respectful and professional, and I just don't, I can't believe it. Like I said, why would you risk screwing up this case? We've got this far. I don't understand it. And it's just disgusting. It's disgusting what has happened in our country, because people just are so entitled anymore. They just feel like they're entitled to everything. And we're not. Not in this case, we're not. And the defendant has a right to a speedy trial. He most certainly does. All he has to do is ask for it. As far as I know, he hasn't yet. I have no idea who you're talking about or what you're talking about, the Rockaways. I don't necessarily believe that the court named, well, they didn't name any YouTubers or anything. They talked about YouTubers, and I guarantee you it isn't just one. It isn't just one. There's a bunch of them. And when you have the family coming out and saying that they want the probable cause document to remain sealed, the family gets the choice. We don't. Let the judge make the decision. The court will decide whether, that's how it works. When things like this get sealed, it becomes a matter of the court. And whoever says, "Nuh-uh, I don't want that sealed," or that should not be sealed according to the law, then you have to go into court and present your case. Once you present your case, it is absolutely the court's decision to rule upon it, either yay or nay, and that will happen. And I do believe, just like Nick McClellan told us on Monday, they have no intention of keeping this stuff hidden from the public. None. It's just right now. And I believe, and he said within 30 days, and I believe it'll be way before then, because I expect it to be released to the public the week of Thanksgiving at that hearing on the 22nd. So the let's get into something else. That's your prerogative, the Rockaways. You can not trust the government. That's up to you. I'm not getting into politics here. I do trust the government to an extent. I'm trusting the process here with law enforcement. I believe that they've done their job. I believe that they're doing a great job so far. In this case, we now have a suspect that's been arrested who has murder charges, and we need to let them do their jobs. And I'm not going to throw them under the bus before anything's happened. So that's how I feel. And thank you for saying what you did about my channel. I appreciate that very much. And I understand how some people have a problem with government. I do. I'm here to tell you, I've lived a lot longer than most of you, or some of you for sure. And I can't believe what I'm seeing in our country. But there's a time and a place for that. And you can't throw everything that's going on in government. You can't just do it at every turn and say that everything is corrupt and everything is not for the good. I don't believe that in a case of two dead children. I just don't. I believe that these men worked tirelessly long hours away from their families and their own children to bring this case to where it is. Nick McClellan stood on that stage on Monday and said, we had to close the investigation. We had to bring the investigation to a close. Now, why would they close the probable cause document? Why would they seal it? There's a number of different reasons. They are still investigating, and that is not unusual. That part of the still investigating, that part's not unusual at all. They're going to continue to try and get tips on this guy and find out as much information as they can about him from anybody out there that knew him, had interactions with him, whatever. So they're going to keep their tip lines open. And as of today, Doug Carter said they have over 300 new tips since his name was announced. So there's stuff coming in, guys. So we will know and we will find out. Boy, Herman, you couldn't have said that better. There are good people laboring in government, and the negative generalizations is yet another weight they labor under. Yes, some of it's deserved, and it hurts us all, especially the innocent. Correct. And I've always said, who hurts the worst in everything? It's always the children. The children pay the highest price in everything because they don't get a voice. We have to be their voice. People forget that. People forget that this case is about two children and what happened to them. It didn't happen to you. It happened to them, and it happened to their families. And we have to keep remembering that. We have to. There's another thing that I wanted to bring to your attention. There was an article, WPTA 21 published this today, where a Carroll County judge agreed. I will have these documents linked below in the description, so if you guys want to reference them. A Carroll County judge agreed to release more details about the arrest of a Delphi man charged with murder, while also asking state court administrators to help him deal with a brewing storm of requests following his order to keep important court documents sealed in the case. Last week, Circuit Judge Benjamin Diener found there was probable cause to arrest and charge Richard Matthew Allen with 2 counts of murder in the 2017 killings of Abby Williams and Liberty German. Once a suspect is arrested, state law requires the probable cause affidavit, also known as a PC, to be publicly released. That document outlines the evidence that led the police to arrest a suspect and would provide additional details to explain why police believe Allen is connected to the murders. But before formally filing the charges, Carroll County prosecutor Nick McClellan asked the judge to seal all documents related to the case, including the PC. He cited Rule 6 of Indiana Rules to Access Court Records, which states, in extraordinary circumstances, a court record that otherwise would be publicly accessible may be excluded from the public access by a court if a requester makes a written request that shows dissemination of the record will create a significant risk of substantial harm or a prejudicial effect to ongoing proceedings that cannot be avoided if the record is released. Based on this request, Diener issued an order sealing records in the case until a public hearing can be held to further consider whether the records should remain under seal but the broad order effectively sealing even the most basic court information in a higher profile murder case triggered questions and criticism from legal experts, the media, and members of the public. WPTA affiliate 13 News appealed directly to the judge, the prosecutor, and state court administrators to get answers and to advocate for transparency about the case. Just hours later, the court decided to publicly release more information about the arrest of Richard Allen. In response to Indiana Access to Public Records Act, the request from 13 News, Diener sent an email on Wednesday morning to WTHR and state court officials granting several of 13 News's requests for case information. Among the details he released, Allen's initial bail was set at $20 million following his arrest. The prosecutor said several days later that Allen is now being held with no bond. When they first arrested him, they had no charges yet, and that's why his bail was at $20 million. As soon as they charged him with murder, he no longer has access to a bond. He's in jail until this is adjudicated. They released a case summary information showing Allen's past and upcoming court dates, a case number so the public can follow new details and events in the case. So they released that, and a notice setting a November 22nd date for the public hearing for Diener to determine whether important records in the case will remain under seal or whether or not they will be made public. All of that information now appears on the state's searchable court information website where anyone can see it, instead of being hidden as it had been for the past 6 days since charges against Allen were first filed. Still under seal, however, is the detailed probable cause affidavit detailing evidence that the police have gathered against him. That will be the focus of the public hearing on November 22nd. At that time, the prosecutor will get to argue, if he chooses, why the case information should remain sealed. While members of the public and representatives from the media can tell the judge why the public would be better served by releasing the documents for public inspection. In response to questions sent by 13 News, the Chief Public Information Officer for the Indiana Supreme Court contacted Diener Tuesday night to share concerns and offer assistance. From a PR standpoint, I am concerned that there is a sealed case with no cause number available or known publicly, no PC, and no public hearing date to determine if the record should be sealed, wrote Indiana Supreme Court Chief PIO Catherine Dolan. I do suggest that the court be clear with procedural information on what is public and when or why, according to the rule, it is not public. She advised the judge to be transparent about court rules and procedures. The press will continue asking for information to be made public. While this does not mean the information is public or should be public, I do suggest the court be clear with procedural information on what is public and when or why, according to the rule, it is not, Dolan wrote. Wednesday morning, the court released online much of the basic case information sought by 13 News, and at the same time, the judge sent 13 News an email that detailed the difficulties he and his court staff are facing since the prosecutor and Indiana State Police announced the probable cause affidavit is sealed and not available for public viewing. Shield me from this. The state court administrative staff and copied to 13 News, Diener wrote, respectively, I need a team of people who can handle the public information where there is none. He went on to explain that his small court staff has been literally overwhelmed by the storm of requests related to public records that have been sealed. Just so the world knows, the Carroll Circuit Court consists of me, Benjamin A. Diener, the judge. My court reporter was hired Friday and began on Monday. My bailiff answers the phone and has no experience and no knowledge about legal process. Thankfully, there is a court administrator that has experience, but she has duties regarding Carroll Circuit and Carroll Superior Courts. That is it. So I'm begging for some assistance to shield me, the court, from this storm so that I, the court, can keep running the court. Otherwise, I'll do what? Read to everyone Rule 6A of the Indiana Rules of Court, rules on access to court records, and explain to everyone that the Supreme Court and statute allows for this precise relief? It is not the court who has a duty to notify the public. It is the prosecuting attorney's office as the requester. It is honestly the judge's duty to reply to each non-party request for information and explain why, when a request is rendered confidential until a hearing, it is logically impossible to acknowledge the existence of the confidential information. Just sending this inquiry took me 15 minutes. Imagine actually responding to each of these requests. Please advise. The email provides rare insight into the impact that sealing records in a high-profile murder case has on a court staff in a small, rural community. The flood of questions and requests surrounding the sealed records also uncovers and underscores just how unusual it is for public court records to be kept hidden following the arrest of a murder suspect. I'll bet I filed close to 1,000 murder cases as a prosecutor, and when a suspect was in custody, not once did I ever file to seal the probable cause, said former Lake County, Indiana prosecutor Jack Crawford, who has practiced criminal law for 35 years. That's an important public document and advises the public what is going on in the case. Considering this is one of the most notorious murders in Indiana history, the public has a right to know important facts about this most serious case. It is surprising, agreed Novella Nedeff, who spent nearly 2 decades as a public defender and now teaches law at Indiana University. I dare say on the state level, I can't ever think of hearing of a probable cause affidavit being held 30 days after an arrest was made. Earlier this week, Nedeff told 13 News that releasing probable cause information helps ensure due process for the defendant while also allowing the public to scrutinize the justice system and ask important questions. In this case, both due process and transparency could be in jeopardy because the evidence against Allen is being kept secret. Not only does the public not get to see important information, but we don't even know if the case is under seal right now for the defense. He has a right to know what he's accused of so he can mount a defense and preserve evidence to prove his innocence. You can't do that if you don't know what they're accusing you of. Despite an arrest, the Carroll County prosecutor and Indiana State Police say they want case records to remain sealed to give them additional time to receive additional tips about this case. This investigation is still very much ongoing, said McClellan, speaking to a large crowd of media and Delphi residents who gathered Monday to hear news of Allen's arrest. We're keeping the tip line open, the tip email open, and we encourage everybody to continue to call in tips, not only about Richard Allen, but also about any other person you may have. And for that reason, and for the nature of this case, the probable cause affidavit and the charging information has been sealed by the court. 13 Investigates is continuing to request the probable cause affidavit in the Delphi murder case because under state law, it is considered to be a public document. And 13 News will attend the November 22nd court hearing where the community and media may advocate for unsealing public records that still remain off limits to the public. So that basically was the judge's reasoning, everything that happened. Oh, Avondale Mama, you are absolutely correct. He knows exactly why he was arrested. The charges were read in court, I'm sure. And he was told. Now, when they said whether or not everything was sealed against for him and his defense, I don't believe it is. The court gives him 20 days to get an attorney. So by the time that he has gathered his attorney, all of this stuff, I think, is going to be his attorney will have access to. There's just so much, you guys. You got to remember, this case is 6 years almost. The case files in this case and all of the evidence, all of the interviews, all of the data, all of everything is going to be boxes and boxes of discovery. This is not going to be a case that's done in 5 months. Oh, Lipsha, thank you. Rockaways, I appreciate your take on everything. You've always been very very kind and everything, and so I have no problem with the fact that you enjoy the debate. I don't mind that at all. So what I think is sad, oh, True Crime Time, you're very welcome. We really strive for it here. You don't have to agree with everyone. Just, when you state how you feel or what you're thinking, do it in a kind and polite manner. And Lisa, that could very well be right. I mean, we don't know what he was doing and why this had to happen now. But you heard Nick McClellan say it. We had to close this investigation. So they had to grab him. Yeah, Teresa, they're gonna probably relocate this case definitely to a larger city, simply because they're gonna need all of that. They're gonna need they're gonna need the protection, basically. They don't have enough people in Carroll County to protect the court, to protect the witnesses, to protect the jury, and to protect the defendant. Hey, Molly, how are you? I saw you sneak in here. Somebody gave something, and I think I missed it, and I got to go back up here and look because I was talking so much. Hi, Island. I saw that you were in here, too. Where are you? There it is. Hey, Heaven 57, thank you so much for your donation. Thank you so much. I appreciate that. I really do try to give you guys information and it's very important. All of these things are very, very important to this case. And we don't need people running around with evidence and what they know as evidence and start talking about it and building all these theories and these speculations online that is only going to fuel a defense. We don't We just don't need that, you know? So I know everybody's going to want to talk about this for a minute, so I'm going to spend a little bit of time on it. Please don't get crazy over the fact that Kagan Klein had reduction of charges. Charges were dismissed, 5 of them, and there were other charges that were lowered as far as their severity. That happens all the time in these kinds of cases. It is very, very common. We've got people running around saying, well, he made a deal. No, he didn't. I guarantee you, if Kagan Klein is part of this crime, they're not going to make a deal. He is still going to get charged with murder. But that did come out. It wouldn't surprise me, Melissa, if it does end up being Indianapolis. It would not surprise me at all. But one of the things that the courts usually look at is they look at traveling distance for family, the relatives of the victims, for witnesses, because all of that plays into it. And depending on how many witnesses they have in this case and experts that they have to call and where they have to travel from, that all plays into the change of venue. So I honestly, this is my take on it, you guys. Hey, Frank Meister, how are you? Good to see you. This is my take on it. I would find it highly unusual that they arrested someone, charged him with the girls' murders. We have been told since day one that Bridge Guy is responsible for the girls, for the death of the girls. He's responsible. And I don't think they've ever ventured off of that. I don't ever feel like they did. When asked whether or not one or more people were involved, they kept saying they went back and forth on that. They couldn't decide. I just think that if they were going to make arrests in this case, they would arrest at the same time. They're not going to give somebody the upper hand and be able to run or worse, get rid of evidence or whatever by letting them know that they're onto them. And that's how I feel right now. I just do. So I think that the reason everything has been left open, tip line and all of that, is to get more information on Richard Matthew Allen. That's just how I feel. I talked to you guys about the huge bust that they did in Nebraska not too long ago for CSAM, and where they rescued the children. And the FBI made the arrest and coordinated it. I can't even talk tonight. All over the country with different jurisdictions, because there were suspects all over. And they all had to go at the very same time. And so law enforcement's going to try to do that most often, so they don't have people running askew and running around. But it's going to be really interesting how this all plays out. I know that they, when the judge recused himself today, he's asked the Supreme Court of Indiana to bring in a special outside of Carroll County judge for this case. So it will be interesting to see what that means and where that happens. So And that, Rob Lee, that could be exactly the reason. Absolutely the reason. Could very well be. I do know that statistics, if you look at these kinds of crimes, statistically, it's lone wolves. So I'm going by the statistics. Hey, Cynthia Delafonte, how are you? Thank you so much for your super chat. Thank you so much. You always support my channel and I appreciate you. So one of the things that I wanted to play for you and that we're going to listen to, I can get it up on my screen. This is an interview with Doug Carter. And some of you may have already seen this, but I'm playing it anyway. And let me just make sure the volume is up. And the volume is up.
The man charged in the murders of Delphi teenagers Abby Williams and Libby German is going into the state's custody for safety reasons. Court records show the Carroll County Sheriff filed a motion to transfer Richard Allen from their custody to the Indiana Department of Correction for, quote, safekeeping. A judge approved the order, the same judge who is now recusing himself, as we told you at the top of this newscast, saying the court finds Allen is in imminent danger of serious bodily injury or death and represents a substantial threat to the safety of others. The order goes on to state, quote, the public's bloodlust for information before it exists is extremely dangerous. All public servants administering this action do not feel safe and are not protected, end quote. It is unclear when the transfer will take place or where Allen will be relocated. Tonight, I had a one-on-one conversation with Indiana State Police Superintendent Doug Carter. He told me he supports the decision to move Richard Allen into state custody. On Monday, during the announcement of Allen's arrest, Carter said that state police still needed tips because the investigation remains open. He tells me in the last 3 days, they've received more than 100 tips. Also, over the course of the Delphi investigation, there were 2 primary sketches of a man police were looking for. They don't look alike. The sketch of the man with the hat came out during the start of the investigation in 2017, and 2 years later, a sketch of a man with curly hair was released. So I had this question. 2 years into the investigation, after we got the initial sketch, we were told to not rely on that sketch anymore, that this was a new sketch that came out that looked completely different than the original. But when we see the mugshot of Richard Allen, he looks mostly like that initial sketch. So why the change 2 years into someone that didn't look anything like the person that we were presented with on Monday?
Well, I'll answer the question in 2 parts. One, isn't that amazing? That he looks a lot like one and a little bit like the other, depending upon the eye of the beholder, right? And I've said all along, those sketches are not photographs. There are reasons that we structurally, and not structurally, but logistically changed the investigative strategy throughout the middle of this. In multiple phases. Some were not even recognized, nor did they have to be. But those detectives are going to base what they're going to do based upon what they know. And what they know comes from the people that live in that community and around the world, literally around the world. So I think that was the absolute right decision at the time to do what they did. I've always said that the 2 sketches are simply sketches. They're not photographs. It's a piece of an investigative puzzle. And when we're all done with this, we're going to be able to meld the 2 of them together. And we're going to find an individual. That's what happened.
You can see the full interview with State Police Superintendent Doug Carter right now in this story on WRTV.com. To see all of our updates on the Delphi investigation, scan the QR code on your screen or go to WRTV.com/Delphi.
So, I noticed a couple of things. Allie said if he's killed prior to trial, I don't think anyone would mind. If he's truly guilty, of course. I think the families would mind. I know I would mind. I want him to see justice. I want him to have to face the families in court and answer for what he did. I want him to have to sit there and listen to all of the evidence and listen to everything against him. I want him to have to see his peers and his friends and family and everybody that he has hurt so desperately. I want him to have to look in their eyes and see them. I don't want this man to get away easy. And to me, killing him before any of that happens would be a horrible miscarriage of justice. That's just my opinion. Molly said, it isn't a change of venue for the trial, just a different county judge managing the issues. Yes, the change of venue hasn't been asked for. The change of venue will come from the defense more than likely. I don't look for the prosecutor to ask for a change of venue, but I most certainly look for the defense too. So he doesn't have an attorney yet. So until that happens, that's not going to be asked for. So yeah, that's putting the cart before the horse. The only thing that's happened here is that a trial judge, to carry out what's going on with the court right now and all the things that have to happen between now and trial, that's what this new judge is going to be handling in Fort Wayne. Unsolved crimes uncovered. He's likely linked to many other similar offenders. We need Alan alive to see the investigation through to completion. Yes, we don't know what all he knows or what all is entailed. And until we do, law enforcement does, we need to make sure that he is protected. And again, he is not guilty until proven guilty in a court of law. He is presumably innocent, and we have to keep remembering that. Molly says, Allie, I would want him to get justice, and I want to hear the evidence and have the girls and the families have the justice and conviction. After that, he can rot. Agreed. Molly, I agree with you on that. Hey, Lisa Marie, how are you? Yeah, Paul, that's my fear. And especially with this being so high profile and so many people know how these types of criminals are looked at in jail. They're the bottom of the tier, basically. And yeah, it's very easy to hurt him for sure. Let's see. Grandma watches. Emotionally, I would give the family all the decision-making, legally and constitution rights. Just don't go along with that. Integrity of case calls for everything to be followed. And yes, and you know, the family will they will be very closely talked to by the prosecution all along the way in this trial. They will have their day in court. They will be able to do victim impact statements at the end of this if he is convicted and found guilty of these crimes. And so they'll get to talk about how this has all affected them, and they will get their day. I want them to have that because I can tell you that Frank Meister asked the question of Mike Patty on Monday about what he would like to say to Richard Matthew Allen. And he said, I will save that until I can ask it of him face to face. So I guarantee you he wants to know, you know, he wants to have that. So, yeah, John, I would like to see that as well. Very much. And I don't think it's going to be a quick trial. I look for this to be a long trial. I think that as far as when it goes to trial, they may have set it for March, but I don't look for it that soon. It's going to take a long time for a defense attorney to get on board with this case and go through all the evidence, all the witnesses, and all of the discovery. They have to see everything The prosecution can hold nothing back. So there's a lot that's got to take place. And we're coming into the holidays, Christmas, New Year's, Thanksgiving. All of that is going to slow the court system down. It's going to slow this process down. People go on vacation. People are with their families. So yeah, I don't look for this to happen in March. Let's see. Okay, so the next thing I wanted to show you was give me a minute here. We're going to talk about this one. So as Richard Allen sits in jail, you guys, without bond, because he's been charged with murder, and there is no bond on murder in Indiana, the details remain sealed as to why the authorities came to suspect him in connection with the Delphi murders. Sorry, I was trying to get Mark some questions. Indiana law appears to allow authorities relatively broad discretion and multiple ways to seal criminal case files. Those mechanisms are worth noting given the death or the dearth of publicly available information in the case. The killings of two young teenage girls, Abby Williams, 13, and Liberty Libby German, 14, near the abandoned railroad trestle on February 13th, 2017, finally led to Allen's arrest. An assemblage of local law enforcement authorities and a local prosecutor announced on Monday morning. Allen is charged with 2 counts of murder, the state police said. Carroll County Prosecutor Nicholas McClellan said on Monday that both a probable cause document and a charging information document remain sealed and likely would remain so for at least a month. McClellan admitted that his request to keep the file sealed was unusual, but the nature of this case has some extra scrutiny with it, McClellan said. There will be a public hearing on whether or not those records are going to remain sealed. It is about protecting the integrity of this case, McClellan continued. I want to have an opportunity at some point to have an opportunity in court to explain the evidence and for that not to be tarnished or tainted. McClellan didn't fully explain how or why court records may remain sealed in Indiana, but state court administrative rules fill in some of those blanks. The task of understanding the machinery at play in Allen's case, however, is shrouded in mystery. McClellan's office has not responded to very narrow requests by Law and Crime for a citation to the particular rule employed to seal the records. And the clerk of the court's office said it has literally nothing on the matter. The latter said any material would be made available on an Indiana court system database once it was public. No information about the case is currently available on that system as of this date and the time of this report. We now know that that's not true. Generally speaking, all persons have access to Indiana court records under the relevant rules, and official comment contained within the rules states that the objective of the rules is to provide maximum public accessibility. However, several exceptions appear in Rule 5 and Rule 6 under Indiana's Access to Public Records Act. Rule 5 exceptions. Rule 5 of Indiana's Rules of Court contains several mechanisms for sealing or closing records. Most are mundane, usual, and self-explanatory. For instance, Social Security and bank account numbers, the names of child witnesses, visual depictions of sexual offenses are not publicly available. Materials connected to a mental health review of a defendant are also closed records. But the Delphi murders case likely has not yet reached that stage. Two broad exceptions stand out, Rule 5A5 and Rule 5B7. The first applies to entire categories of cases. Entire cases that exclusively pertain to investigative requests and process unrelated to a pending criminal proceeding, including but not limited to search warrants, subpoenas, ad testificandum or oral testimony, subpoenas, ducis tecum for items, usually documents, and other investigative requests. And the second applies to specific individual cases, records in a pending matter that pertain to permissible ex parte proceedings, post-charging investigatory requests for process, or requests for in-camera review, and that have been ordered confidential by the trial judge. Ex parte proceedings involve just one side in a case and usually occur in civil matters where one party asks for a preliminary injunction in an emergency situation. In camera review, it occurs when a judge considers documents in private. Usually that applies to material which contains highly sensitive private matters, trade secrets, communications covered by attorney-client privilege. So those exceptions likely don't apply to the Delphi murder case. When read in tandem, however, the rules allow courts to seal investigative requests and investigative requests for process. And Law and Crime is unable to find any Indiana case law to define precisely what those terms contemplate. It's possible that another rule, Rule 5E1, could be at play, and that rule allows records to be sealed when an arrest warrant is sought, but it also contains strict limits on how long the seal is allowed to remain in effect. Court records that shall be temporarily excluded from public access. The following shall be excluded from public access, and no notice of exclusion from public access is required. In prior criminal cases, when a request to exclude case records from public access is filed contemporaneously with a request for an arrest warrant, which is what they did. If you remember right, Nick McClellan asked for the case records to be closed prior to the arrest warrant. When this request is made, the request and the court record will be rendered confidential until the court rules on the request. When probable cause to justify issuance of an arrest warrant has been established, the case record shall be publicly accessible unless the judge determines that the facts presented in the request for exclusion from public access support a reasonable belief that public disclosure will increase the risk of flight by the defendant, create an undue risk of harm to the community or law enforcement officers, or jeopardize an ongoing criminal investigation. An order excluding public access issued under this subsection shall expire immediately upon the arrest of the defendant. The known facts in the Delphi murders case suggest many of these issues are at play, but the rule says that any seal contemplated under this section expires immediately when a defendant is arrested. Here, that has happened. One defendant is under arrest. The big question is whether another defendant is named on the same charging instruments who has not yet been arrested. In federal court, when that happens, a redacted or partial indictment is released immediately under the rules followed in the federal system. Assuming Indiana follows similar rules, it is unlikely another defendant is named on the same charging instrument as Richard Allen. And another rule, the Rule 6 exceptions rule, likely the one being followed in the Allen case, allowing the sealing of court records in extraordinary circumstances. The core of that rule reads as follows: in extraordinary circumstances, a court record that otherwise would be publicly accessible may be excluded from public access by a court having jurisdiction over the record. A verified written request to prohibit public access to a court record may be made by any person affected by the release of that court record, and the request shall demonstrate that the public interest will be substantially served by prohibiting access. Access or dissemination of the court record will create a significant risk of substantial harm to the requester, other persons, or the general public, or a substantial prejudicial effect to ongoing proceedings cannot be avoided without prohibiting public access. When this request is made, the request in the court record will be rendered confidential for a reasonable period of time until the court rules on the request. And I believe that that number 3 is the reason. The court deemed whatever Nick McClellan wrote was a substantial prejudicial effect to ongoing proceedings cannot be avoided without prohibiting public access. And so I mean, I know it seems mysterious, but I just really believe that it's going to be really interesting. I think it's going to be really interesting to see if this court case remains open, because you guys are going to, everybody's going to become unhinged if they close the trial and they close the court proceedings to just those people that need to be there, because they can do that. It does not have to be public, because these are children. So, I mean, we just need to sit back and watch and try not to play around in rumors and fuel the fire of information that may not be, may not be true. The other thing I wanted to share with you is that Libby's family has spoken about Richard Matthew Allen's arrest. Libby's mom, Carrie, actually broke her silence following the arrest of her daughter's alleged killer. It took almost 6 years after the 8th grader was found dead alongside her best friend. And this is what Carrie had to say. Reacting to the stunning development, Libby's mom, Carrie Timmons, told the U.S. Sun, "Today isn't about what wasn't said, it's about what was said." Richard Allen has been arrested and charged with the murders of Libby and Abby. I have begged, pleaded, and prayed to hear these words for nearly 6 years, but nothing could prepare me for the feeling of sitting there and actually hearing them. To say it's been an emotional roller coaster would be a great understatement. That being said, I know now that this is just the beginning. Justice is finally coming, Libs. It's going to be a long and bumpy road, but I'm ready for the journey. Maybe then we can have some peace. I love you most. Allen's arrest was officially announced during the press conference on Monday by Indiana State Police Superintendent Doug Carter, who struggled to hold back his emotions. And during the press conference, Carter and other investigators refused to disclose any of the evidence that led to Alan's arrest or share any further details about the fates of Libby and Abby, citing an active and ongoing investigation. All information regarding any evidence in the case has been placed under temporary seal, and a hearing will take place in the coming weeks to determine whether the documents should be made public. Acknowledging there's still so much she doesn't know about her daughter's death and the man that allegedly killed her, Carrie added, "Over the next few weeks, months, and maybe even years, the story will finally be told, and justice will finally be served. Hopefully, questions will be answered, and we as a family and a community can begin to heal. I am so very grateful for all of the loving support, the kind words from friends, family, and even strangers. Many days, that is all that has kept me going, and for that, I thank you from the bottom of my heart. Please continue to lift us all in prayer. Send good vibes and positivity, because we are all truly going to need it." While acknowledging her own wait for answers has been excruciating, Carrie also preached the importance of patience in the months ahead. This isn't a time for victim blaming or shaming, and there is no need for vigilante justice, said Carrie. Please keep in mind that we have a justice system for a reason, and everyone has a right to a fair trial and is considered innocent until proven guilty. Remember that Bridge Guy has a family, and they are not responsible for his actions. And they are, in fact, also his victims. I also want to thank all of the reporters, podcasters, and other news and social media outlets for keeping our girl's story relevant and in the public eye. While sometimes it's been painful, I am truly grateful for all of you. The investigation into the deaths of Libby and Abby is still open and ongoing, with Carter hinting on Monday that more arrests could follow, still as investigators work to determine whether any other culprits may have been involved. In the meantime, other members of Libby's family have voiced their shock that her accused killer was named as a local man, apparently hiding in plain sight this whole time, just as Doug Carter told us. Alan, 50, has since been revealed to be a married father and a licensed pharmacy technician who has been living in Delphi for more than a decade, working for a number of years at a local chain of CVS. Libby's grandparents, Becky and Mike Patty, told reporters on Monday that Alan had once served them at the store when they went in to print pictures of the girls ahead of their funerals, and Alan declined to charge them for processing the images, Becky recounted. The owner of a since-shuttered bar where Alan was reportedly a regular has also spoken out about his interactions with the murder suspect. Speaking to the Daily Beast, Bob Matlock, the former owner of JC's Bar, said he remembers discussing the murders of Abby and Libby with Richard Allen on a very frequent basis as he sat inches away from a police composite sketch, apparently intended to resemble his face. He would come in and we would always talk about the girls and everything, Matlock, 75, told the outlet. We would carry on conversations about it. He would say, you know, it's such a tragedy. And we'd say we felt sorry for the families and all of that. But we tried not to talk about it too much because we all knew the families and we were friends with the families. Matlock added that he couldn't believe it when Alan was named as the suspect. I said, well, that can't be the Rick we know. And then we come to find out it was. There wouldn't have been any inkling to anyone that knew him that would expect him to do something like that. He just didn't seem to be that type of person, but I guess you never know. Allen has been charged with 2 counts of murder and is currently being held in a state facility without bond. He has pleaded not guilty to both counts. It's unclear if he has yet retained an attorney. In a previous interview, several weeks before Allen's arrest, Carrie said, "Death would be too good for whoever is found to be responsible for her daughter's death." I don't know if what I want to say about what I think should happen to them can actually be printed, mused Carrie. But I will say death is too good for him, unless they bring back the electric chair. I want him to die a very slow, painful death, that's for sure. Family members of Allen's, despite multiple attempts to reach them, have not yet spoken publicly about his arrest. His wife, the U.S. Sun, is choosing not to name at this time, deleted her Facebook account in the aftermath of the news. Prior to doing so, Allen's wife had an image from 2018 displayed on her page showing their adult daughter posing on the Monon High Bridge Trail in Delphi. Chillingly, the trail, a defunct wooden railway track hidden in the woods, had been where Libby and Abby were last seen alive. Their bodies were found in a wooded area less than a half mile from the bridge. Another haunting photo was posted by his wife on Facebook, which shows the Indiana man smiling excitedly in front of what appears to be one of the 2 police composite sketches of the murder suspect. After his arrest last week, Allen was booked into the Carroll County Jail and later moved to a state facility for his own safety. There is no bond in this case, and pretrial hearing has been slated for January 13th at 9 a.m. So that was what Carrie had to say about all of this. And I feel bad for her, and I have for the whole case, because they have such a rift, it seems, in the family, and she's never talked about. And even Doug Carter didn't mention her or Derek when he talked to the family from that podium on Monday. And that just hurts me. Those are Libby's parents. They have feelings too. Becky Patty, the grandmother of Libby German, said, "The family has a very difficult path ahead after Richard Allen's announcement of his arrest." Becky wrote in a Facebook post, "I guess I'm kind of at a loss. Where do we go from here? I realize our lives have again made a big change, and we have a very difficult path to start down. It is a path we will gladly face, as we know each step is one step closer to our monster being convicted." She added, "I want to thank everyone who has supported and prayed for our girls daily for 5.5 years, who never gave up, who grew to love them. I know they are smiling down on the world today, knowing it is now a little bit safer." The Monon High Bridge is about a quarter of a mile east of Delphi, and the bridge is where it is suspected that the victims crossed paths with the murderer. The only evidence that was recovered since the girls were murdered 5 years ago consists of a short Snapchat video from Libby's phone. The video depicts an unidentified man on the Monon High Bridge telling Abby and Libby to go down the hill. Guys, down the hill. On Friday, Richard Allen was arrested in connection with the girls' deaths. An image of him was released after the arrest, and he was charged with 2 counts of murder. Multiple sources, including a loved one from Libby's family, confirmed that an arrest had actually been made, and more information would come out and be released at the press conference on Monday. Cops said that that a suspect in the case had been identified, but it was unclear if it was Allen or if it was another person. We didn't know until Monday that it was Richard Allen, a CVS employee who lived and worked in Delphi. The people who worked with him had no clue and were just as surprised as everyone else, the source said. They're all just really hoping that there's some kind of a mistake and that it isn't him. But at the same time, if it is him, they hope there is solid proof because everybody wants to see this come to an end. There's just a lot of mixed emotions right now, and everyone is in shock. I mean, I can't even imagine. It's just crazy. And one of the other things that I thought was really interesting was I think everyone that I've talked to, that I've looked at, all the YouTubers and the channels that I follow, the Reddit subs that I follow, and I read all that stuff, everybody was absolutely surprised by this arrest. Nobody saw it coming. Nobody knew what was going on. Yeah. So that's pretty much what I'm going to cover with you guys tonight. I had a couple of other things that I was going to cover, but it's already up to 2 hours, and I'm just like, no, I'm good with what we've talked about tonight. Hold on a second. I do want to pull up. I don't think that's the right one. That's not it either. No. Get out of there. That's okay. I don't know what happened to my... I have to find that. Oh, there it is. There you are. Okay, sorry, guys. So I guess I guess one of the things that I am going to say to end tonight's show is that I just want everybody to continue to hold the families, stand next to them, and give them support and love, and know that this is not easy for them. The uphill battle of this is not a slam dunk case by any way imaginable. Even if they've got DNA, this is going to be a really hard case and a hard fought case. And I think simply because of the social media aspect of this case and all of the crazy theories and stuff that's been out there over time, a good defense attorney is going to bring all that stuff up, and they only need to convince one juror of reasonable doubt. And so I said all along, it's not about me, and it isn't. It's not about being right or wrong. Whether or not my theory of how this went down is how it happened, I don't care. I just want justice to be served. It makes me sad, you guys. I'm sorry. It just makes me really sad. I've followed this case since day one, and yeah, it really, Abby and Libby have touched me. I've grown to love those girls, and I I hate what happened to them. I hate that their lives were robbed from them, and their families' love and joy of them was robbed forever. It hurts me. And so I champion for their justice. It's what I've been doing all along, and that's what I still hope for. There's going to be twists and turns with this case. I expect it to happen a lot. I think we're going to still have surprises. I think we're going to still have a lot of surprises when we start getting into the real evidence. Thanks, Molly. I saw the videos of Becky at the bridge on Saturday when she went for Randy's walk, and her emotion. I saw her raw emotion on Monday at the presser, and how she feels lost right now. It's like she described they've been in search mode for nearly 6 years, searching and searching for this killer. And now they have a face and a name to go with that. And she's not sure where to go with all that, and it's going to take them a while. So yeah, my heart goes out to them, and to all the crazy stuff that's going out there. Like I said on social media, you guys, don't buy into it. Don't give them any fuel for their fire. We don't need to have people out there threatening judges and their families and putting pictures of them up and showing all of that, trying to put pressure on people. We just shouldn't be doing that. And I want to make sure that I continue to do justice by the girls. And that is what I will always, always strive for on my channel. And just like Lipsha just posted, just exactly like the Flora girls. Kiara, Kyani, and Cariel will always be here because I champion for their justice. I was very happy to hear Doug Carter say on Monday when he was interviewed that they are still actively working the Flora case, and they're looking for that person as well. And I want them to be caught. Those girls need justice too. And it's going to be in 3 weeks, it's going to be 6 years that we lost those beautiful girls to murder. And we need to find a way to help support that family so that they can receive the justice that they deserve as well. And I agree with you, Paul. We need to trust the process, just like Perry Faxx tells us. Trust the process. Hold everyone, just like GonZo tells us. Hold everything close to the vest, guys. Now's the time to not make any stumbles or mistakes. You know, we got to be careful. They've got to be careful, and we have to trust in that. And right, Melissa, Evansdale as well. Most definitely. Lyric and Elizabeth deserve justice too. It's been much longer for them. I'm going to go ahead and give away a Delphi bracelet. Let me pull up my giveaway. Hold on just a moment. My giveaway tool, guys. And tonight it's going to be #TrueJustice. And you need to do it with capital letters, just like I put it in there. So if you want to be included in my drawing for one of the Abby and Libby bracelets, it's one of these right here. Go ahead and enter hashtag True Justice. And I will start getting the, we'll do the drawing. Ugh. And you guys, I just received this today. A serial killer's daughter. This is the book that was written by BTK's daughter, Carrie Rawson. And I cannot wait to read it. I'll have to tell you how good it is. But I wanted to get her perspective. I've heard so many interviews that she's done, but I've never read her book. And I want to get her perspective on what it did to her to find out that the father that raised her was a serial killer. I'm sure I'll never completely understand it, but it will give me a better perspective. But you guys, I love all of you being here. I love the good conversation. I'm going to look here. Go ahead and keep entering the drawing. I'm going to talk about, I'm going to go over some of these. Hold on a second. Paul asked if anyone had researched Robert Bruce. Yeah, people looked at Robert Bruce way back when he committed his crimes for this one. I, for one, never, ever, ever thought that he was responsible for this case. I know that that people did. I think Michael Catt went to his grave believing that it was him. Sorry, my hair needs to be brushed. It's a mess. You know, she was extremely brave in sharing what she's went through. And I so agree with you, because it would just be so hard to even come to terms with that. I just can't even imagine. Oh, and guys, I also wanted to say regarding the sketches, I think the sketches have caused more problems in this case than anything. But I will say that seeing both sketches, I see this suspect in both of them. I absolutely see him. And we all see things differently. So I know there's people out there that don't, but I do. I as soon as I saw him, I'm like, oh my God, that's him. But it's going to be interesting to see how this, like I said, how this plays out. And I definitely, you know, Doug Carter told us in February, Island, about, you know, put the two sketches over the top of each other, drop them, and there will be your suspect. And I absolutely believe that's him. And I see him in both of the sketches. The eyes and the nose and the facial structures, those are the things that I see that I think are telling. So I do know from Becky that they were contacted on Wednesday, because that's when they took Alan into custody, was on Wednesday. They did not, they took him into custody to talk to him and interview him, and they charged him on Friday. So It's just really strange. If you guys can, there's a video out there running around of him setting off fireworks. You guys need to see that video. I can't remember who posted it, but it's out there. But I definitely think it's highly possible. They've already said, I think it was WTHR, Fox 59, came out in a written news bulletin article and said that they have already been able to source that Allen was a witness. He integrated or injected himself into the investigation. He talked to law enforcement. So I have a feeling we're going to be shocked at how all this played out. And I would not be surprised at all if Richard Allen was the original witness for young bridge guy. And that sketch would not surprise me or shock me at all. Because I think he was a witness who wasn't a witness, obviously. And he seems to be the type of, this offender seems to be the type who wants to interject themselves into the investigation. And everything that we know about these type of offenders and killers, that's what they do. There's a lot of them that do just that. So, very interesting. But like I said, he is innocent until proven guilty. So we'll just have to wait and see. Yeah, Maria, I think you're right. I think it is the Inquisitor that has the video of him setting off the fireworks. And make sure you guys check out the Inquisitor's channel. He does amazing work on Delphi. So, all right, guys, I've only got 7 entries. I'm going to go ahead and draw. Cool. And David Gray, you are the winner. So if you send me your information by email, I will get your Delphi bracelet sent out to you. And you can have your wristband for Abby and Libby. I'm going to continue to wear mine until the trial is over. I made that pact to myself when I started wearing it well over a year ago. And I'm going to stick to that. So. All right, guys. Well, I thank you again for sticking with me. I appreciate all of you. Please like and subscribe to my live stream. It helps to keep my videos up in the algorithm for YouTube, so more people become aware of my channel and more people can watch my live streams. And like I said, I do appreciate all of you. Thank you for everyone who gave me donations and everyone who supports me, all of my members, all of my subscribers. And please, please give kudos to all of my moderators because they spend the time with me out of their own time to be here. And I so appreciate them. And thank you guys. And John, thank you so much for sticking with me, and Maria as well. You guys are the best. Molly, you're super great. And I'm so glad that you guys were all here. I don't know if Michelle's gone already. I know she usually leaves to eat. And I think Jennifer goes take care of her kids. So thank you to all of you. Love, and make sure that you pay it forward. And it doesn't take much to be kind. So make sure you're being kind, you guys, above all else. Thank you, Rockaways. Same to you. Great chat. Great conversation. I'll see you all on Saturday night. Until then, good night, everyone.
Bye.